Hello everyone. Myself Dr. Shraddha Sahu from Department of Biotechnology, Faculty of Engineering and Technology, Rama University, Kanpur. Today the topic which we are going to discuss is protein purification. As you all know that protein are larger biomacromolecules which why do we call it as macromolecules? Because these are larger in size and they are present in a majority of percentage in our body, and in any living organism's body consists of protein. So why do we need to purify, since our topic is protein purification. So why do we need to purify proteins? This is a major question. So we need to purify proteins for the study of structure and function of, and there are variety of proteins present in living organisms. And what is the meaning of protein purification? Protein purification is a technique where we need to purify the proteins from a mixture of different biological macromolecules, like there are protein, DNA, lipid and other macromolecules and other contaminants present in the living structure in a cell. And what is the living structure which we are considering here? It is the cell. And what are the sources of proteins which we want to purify? So among the different sources, we have the plant sources, we have the microbial sources, we have the animal sources. So there are number of sources of proteins. So coming to the topic today, discussing about the brief outline, what should be the basis of the purification of proteins, of our proteins. So the basis of purification of proteins, we'll be discussing the basis of purification of proteins, and then the goals, what are our goals. So among the goals we will be discussing the specific activity of the proteins, then what are the different methods of protein purification. So the different methods, among the different methods we will be considering the centrifugation, the precipitation and the chromatographic methods. So centrifugation, we are discussing the two types of centrifugation, differential and the isopycnic centrifugation. Then comes our precipitation. In the precipitation we will be discussing the salting out technique with the help of ammonium sulfate, and which is usually conducted in most of the protein purification labs. And then comes the dialysis. Amongst the chromatography which we generally used in the protein purification techniques is the gel filtration chromatography, the ion exchange chromatography and the affinity chromatography. So this is the outline of today's topic. This is protein purification. And now what are the purification procedures we are going to follow? So the among this, actually proteins are what are proteins? If we consider is technically, proteins are the linear chain of amino acids. So if it is a linear chain of amino acids, and what we will discuss, like the amino acids. What are amino acids? These are the charged molecules, the charged particles. They have the positive ends and the negative ends. So and again these proteins are having various different properties. So on the basis of different properties we are going to purify, because suppose we have a mixture. So this mixture is containing different type of the biological molecules which are having different properties. So with the use of specific properties of protein we are able to purify or isolate a particular kind of protein. So here we will discuss what are the basis of protein purification. So we have two different type of properties of the protein. First is the hydrodynamic properties, and second we are considering the chemical properties. So what are the hydrodynamic properties of a protein? The hydrodynamic properties, within the hydrodynamic properties it includes the size, shape and density of the proteins, and again the charge of the protein. So these are the properties which are called as the hydrodynamic properties. So using since there are different the proteins will be varying in their size, in their shape, in their molecular weight, the density of the protein and the charge of the protein. Suppose some proteins are positively charged because of the presence of positive amino acids and the negative amino acids. So this we can consider it the different properties of the proteins. And then comes the chemical properties. Among the chemical properties, we have the solubility and the binding, some of the binding characteristics of the proteins. Binding characteristics. So, the size and shape, we follow the different procedures on the basis of these characteristics. So, here we can do the gel filtration chromatography and the SDS page and the centrifugation. We will discuss it one by one. So, in the gel filtration chromatography, the protein molecules are separated on the basis of different sizes. The molecules on the basis of different size, we use the SDS page. When we perform the SDS page, the protein molecules are separated on the basis of different size, and then centrifugation, different types of centrifugation we can do, and different on the basis of different shape of the proteins can be separated. Now the proteins are having different charge on their surfaces, so we can do the ion exchange chromatography for the charged proteins, isoelectric focusing, and the proteins which are having neutral charge, we can perform native electrophoresis for such kind of proteins. Then on the basis of solubility, we can perform the salting out technique and the organic extraction, hydrophobic interaction chromatography, like this, and the binding characteristics. The binding, on the basis of binding characteristics, the binding specificity. So, there are some proteins which are having specific properties, and we can use certain ligands. The specificity we can define as like the antigen antibody interaction. There also a specific antibody combines with the specific antigen. Just like that, here the binding specificity, affinity chromatography is used. So, here one term is used, specific activity. This specific activity of the protein, we define it the activity of desired protein divided by the total protein. So, this is the very specific property of a protein which is used for the and we use the assay, because these are the different methods by which we can measure the property of where the present the qualitative and quantitative property of enzyme or protein, because proteins are present in various forms like enzymes, hormones, and antibodies. So, the specific activity is the activity of an enzyme. So, because all enzymes are proteins except a few, so we can say the specific activity is the required. In case of enzymes, we use this property. Specific activity is the required property of a protein for the purification purpose. So, whatever protein we want to purify, the desired protein, we will measure the activity or the enzyme activity of that particular protein, and that particular protein will be present in a mixture. So, out of those complete mixture, what is the activity of our protein? It defines that property. So, coming over centrifugation, we will discuss all these things one by one. So, first we will take into consideration the centrifugation. Amongst the centrifugation, we are discussing here two types of centrifugation, the differential centrifugation and the isopycnic centrifugation. The differential centrifugation is based on the size or shape of the protein molecule. So, if we want how the protein gets separated on the basis of size and shape, is that suppose there is a liver tissue, and we want to isolate some protein, or we want to purify some protein from this liver. So, we need to isolate some tissue and homogenize it. After the homogenization, we get this sample, and this sample will be subjected to the centrifugation. With centrifugation, we will do the differential centrifugation. After this centrifugation, we will be having some particles. This is a mixture, and here we will be having slow sedimenting components and the fast sedimenting components. So, what are these slow? Some particles will be settled down easier, and some particle will be settled down slowly. So, this will be according to the size of the protein molecule. The particles which are having heavier size will size or molecular weight will be sedimenting faster, and those with the low density will be sedimenting slowly. So, what we need to do then after the homogenization, we will get the tissue homogenate, and this tissue homogenate we will centrifuge it one by one. Like first we will centrifuge in the low speed, what we will get? We will get the pellet and the supernatant. Within these pellets we will get the whole cells, nuclei and cytoskeleton. Why we are getting this? Because this will be having, among this whole tissue, this will be having the heavier density, or the particle size will be larger. So, in this supernatant, whatever the smaller molecules will be there, or smaller particles will be there, they will be come in this supernatant. Again this will be subjected to the medium speed centrifugation, and again we will get the pellets and the supernatant. In this we will get the mitochondria, lysosomes and peroxisomes, which are the different organelles. So, again this will be having some little bit lesser than this, the density lesser than this, but within this mixture you will be having more density of this, and then the supernatant will be having less density particles. So, then you will subject to the high speed centrifugation. Finally, we will get the pellet and the supernatant again. This will again contain lower molecular weight organelles like the ribosomes and the large molecules, and this among this supernatant will get the soluble protein. So, whatever soluble protein, whatever protein we want to purify, from here, starting from here to here, we can reach soluble protein. So, this comes under the differential centrifugation, where the separation of protein is conducted on the basis of size and shape. Now comes the isopycnic centrifugation. This isopycnic centrifugation, in this isopycnic centrifugation, the separation is based on the density. Okay. So, suppose this is your sample. This sample contains again some less dense components and some more dense components. So, here when we subject this sample to the isopycnic centrifugation, the fractionation will be done. When we centrifuge it, less dense components will be coming towards the upper portion, and the more dense components, because of the heavy molecular weight, they will be coming or sedimenting at the bottom. So, when we will fractionate it, we can collect in different tubes this heavy molecular weight, high density particle components and the low density components. So, we will separate in such a way. We are discussing the protein purification techniques. So, coming to the ammonium sulfate fractionation, this is a very important technique used in the purification techniques. We will discuss here the salting out. So, what is salting out? Generally, the proteins are natively present in the aqueous environment. So, these are present in the aqueous environment in the soluble state, but the solubility of the protein varies. Some proteins are more soluble and some are less soluble. So, here the separation, we will separate out the proteins on the basis of the solubility property of the proteins. So, coming to the solubility, if we want, there is a mixture of protein. Suppose there is a mixture of protein and we want to purify that our target protein. So, this is our this large molecules are there in the mixture of proteins. We have some target protein or whatever the desired protein we want to purify. So, what we will do? We will go on adding the ammonium sulfate. So, ammonium sulfate is not added abruptly at once. So, it is added in the increasing order of the saturation level, so that we can reach up to a certain level of saturation. So, in the increasing order, suppose by 40%, then we will add this ammonium sulfate, 40% ammonium sulfate will add to the solution, and then we will freeze the solution and keep the solution at 4 degrees centigrade overnight, and again we will centrifuge it, collect the pellets, and then again we will do the dissolve in the buffer of certain pH, and then we will dissolve the ammonium sulfate of increased percentage again, then 60%, then 80%. So 80%, 80 to 85% is the maximum saturation level. So what we are doing here, we are increasing the ionic strength. By increasing the salt concentration, we are increasing the ionic strength. By increasing the ionic strength of the solution, the desired protein will be precipitate out. So all the time, this is the supernatant fraction and this is the pellet fraction. So our protein will be present in the precipitated form in the pellet fraction. So this is called the salting out, where by the use of salt ammonium sulfate, we are collecting the precipitating the protein. We are separating the protein from the aqueous environment and collecting it in the form of pellets, and then the desired buffer of desired pH will be used for dissolving this protein. Then the proteins, these are the least soluble at the isoelectric point. Or what is the isoelectric point? This is the where the net charge on the protein is 0. So at this point, when the protein reaches at this point, the isolation of protein becomes easier. And then after this ammonium sulfate, we will do the dialysis. So dialysis is a process where the extra salt content, which because our protein, when we dissolve it in the buffer, this will be very concentrated form. This will come in the very concentrated form, in the concentrated solution. So what we are doing, we are taking a solution or buffer which will be having less ions than this, and this will be done with the help of a semi-permeable membrane. So what is semi-permeable, what is a dialysis membrane doing? This here we use a semi-permeable membrane. This membrane separates out the large molecule, since the large molecules cannot transverse the membrane, and here the small molecules can transfer the membrane. So simple the process, the simple principle of diffusion. On the basis of diffusion, this higher salt concentration is removed from this protein. Now after dialysis, we are subjecting it to the chromatography. Because protein purification is a multi-step process, it cannot be completed in a single process. So we can combine one process with the another process as and when desired. So this is when we are using the chromatography. In general, we see what is the basics of chromatography. So in this, two phases are used. The mobile phase, one is the mobile phase and the other is the stationary phase. So what the mobile phase? Mobile phase is the liquid phase. Mostly the liquid or the solvents are used as a mobile phase, and as the name shows, the stationary phase. This is also some kind of beads are used. Some kinds of beads or polymers are used in this, which are used as stationary phase. So different type of column, when we use in the column chromatography, different type of column materials are used like beads, gels and polymers. So here for the separation of proteins, we generally use three types of chromatography. This is the gel filtration chromatography, ion exchange chromatography and the affinity chromatography. So what is the basis of separation? So these all includes different principles. Like in gel filtration chromatography, size and shape is the basis of separation, and the charge, for the charged proteins, where either the proteins are positively charged or the negatively charged proteins are used, we can use ion exchange chromatography. And suppose if we want to purify proteins on the basis of specific functions, then we use affinity chromatography. So coming over one by one to the chromatographic techniques. So the gel filtration chromatography, we also called it as size exclusion or the molecular sieve chromatography. So by the name itself, we can see that here one gel or a small polymer beads are used, and generally by using the gel filtration chromatography, very small sized proteins are purified. So larger protein molecules pass through these interstitial spaces between the beads, and while the smaller molecules, they have to pass between wholly or partly through the pores of these beads. So therefore we can also call this reverse sieve chromatography. Why we call this reverse sieve chromatography? Because these beads are acting as a sieve. these beads are acting as a sieve for the proteins. So what is the principle of a sieve? When we use in general separation technique, when we use a sieve, what a sieve does, the larger molecules are separated and the smaller molecules, are remaining on the surface of the sieve, while the smaller molecules get separated downwards. While here the larger molecules passes on quickly and the smaller molecule stays back, because it takes more time, because they have to cross the within the beads. So therefore this is called reverse sieve chromatography. So this is very when we use the SDS page, so if there is very small difference between this two proteins, so for this kind of protein we are using the gel filtration chromatography. Again, for the charged proteins, as I told, on the basis of charge, this ion exchange chromatography leads the separation of the proteins. So in this we are having cation exchange chromatography and the anion exchange chromatography. So as the name shows, what is the cation exchange chromatography? It is where we use the negatively charged beads when the column is packed with negatively charged beads or matrix, and here the column is packed with positively charged. So the oppositely charged ions, they attract each other. If the protein molecule in the solution is having positive charge, it will get combined with the negative charged beads, and the negatively charged proteins, because of the repulsion, they will be flowing out, while the positively charged proteins will be combining with the or attaching with the negatively charged beads. Afterwards we can elute these proteins with the help by changing the pH or by changing the salt concentration. Again here the negatively charged proteins, because of the positively charged ions are used, they will be attaching with the beads, while the positively charged proteins will be flowing out of this. And the cation, there are two types. If we are using cation exchange chromatography, we use cation exchangers, and if we are using anion exchange chromatography, we are using anion exchangers. So these are the examples of this. And coming over last to the affinity chromatography. When we are talking about the affinity chromatography, our protein should have some affinity to a particular kind of ligands. So if we want to purify, this is our protein of interest, and suppose we have some ligand. So this ligand is coupled with the polymer bead. The same bead will be having coupled, or we can join it. So these ligands, our protein is specific to attach with this particular kind of ligand. So if, say for example, we are taking some polymer bead and with attaching the glucose molecule with it, and we are having some glucose binding proteins in a mixture of samples. So these represent the different proteins, other proteins in a mixture, and we are having this protein will attach to the glucose molecules. Suppose we are adding glucose, and then after adding the glucose, this bead will be having this bead which was attached with glucose, it was completely, we are getting released protein. When we are releasing protein, it will be bind with the glucose. So in that way, we suppose this is a column, and we are using the polymer bead with having the glucose attached in it. So the mixture of proteins will be, when we pour a mixture of proteins, this will get and bind to the specific ligand coupled polymer protein, and then after the elution we will get the specific protein in our hands. So this is all about the protein purification techniques, where we use different type of techniques on the basis of different properties of protein. So thanks a lot.